Hello, welcome back to Med and Me. Today we are joined by Alekhya Peruri, and she's going to be telling us about what med school is like. So, what doctorate are you working towards?
I'm working towards a DO degree.
Okay. Um, could you explain what a DO is?
Sure. So, DO is a doctor of osteopathy. And osteopathic medicine is basically they try to approach medicine from a holistic approach. We work on everything that an MD would, but we also try to incorporate osteopathic manipulative medicine, which is very simple to think about. If you think about what like a PT would do or a chiropractor, we kind of use our hands and we try to target specific dysfunctions in the body and hope that that also allows inner healing. And so we incorporate the OMM into everyday medicine.
Nice. So, why specifically did you choose to get a DO?
I really enjoyed the holistic approach that a DO approaches medicine with. I think when I applied to medical school, it was a little non-traditional. I ended up applying a little later in the cycle, so I really only applied to DO schools. I really liked that they targeted their, I guess, like the communities that they were targeting were in these rural areas that really needed medical health care and access to health care, and so I really liked the approach that a DO kind of takes towards medicine.
Nice. So what are the steps you need to take to get into med school, or specifically DO?
Sure. So it's the same application process as an MD school. There really is no difference. You apply at the same time, you need the same requirements, but once you get in and accepted into a school, you tend to need to shadow a DO doctor. A lot of schools like to see that you really know what a DO doctor entails and you are able to appreciate this area of medicine. So they tend to just have you shadow a doctor and give them a letter, but that's usually upon acceptance. I had fortunately just shadowed a doctor before, so I had already completed that requirement. But really, honestly, everything else is similar.
Nice. So then what was your personal path to med school?
Sure. So I have a pretty unique path. I went into college at the University of Virginia thinking I really wanted to go into their commerce school. But then first year college came around and I wanted to major towards economics. And so I took a bunch of econ prerequisites, excuse me, and I took one healthcare class, and the healthcare class really was my favorite. It was like human biology, and I thought maybe I wanted to go into the business of healthcare, but in once I realized that I really just wanted to actually be patient facing, I really wanted to practice the medicine itself and get to learn more about that side of things instead of the management side of things. So I then switched my path into a pre med path. I took all the prerequisites during college. I majored in economics and cognitive science, which gave me a nice, diverse background. And then I did some research in college, which I think helped me towards medical school. Shadowed a bunch of doctors, and yeah, I would say that's pretty much my path to medical school.
Nice, interesting. So could you walk us through a typical day in med school?
Sure. So I was kind of the COVID class. Started in 2020, so a lot of our classes were virtual. But then by the time 2021 came around, you had the option to go in person. So I would wake up pretty early, maybe around like 6, 7 o'clock, make myself some breakfast, and I would start listening to lectures. All of our lectures were recorded, so I was able to listen to them online at home. So I would study probably for a couple hours in the morning, maybe until lunchtime. Just listen to lectures, read anything I needed to read. I loved my iPad, so I would take notes on there. Lunchtime would come around, I would do lunch, and then I would try to go to the gym at that point, or I would study for a couple more hours. Um, and then I would go to the gym, kind of have some time for myself. And then if we had an exam coming up, my roommate and I would always study the night before together. The evenings were a little different. They were either just like studying or trying to do something social with friends. Um, but yeah, we had a bunch of exams every week, so a lot of it was just studying. But definitely as like organizations picked up, we'd have meetings for that and we'd have different speakers. So it was a little bit of everything.
Mhm. Was it a lot of late nights and stuff?
I would say the first like semester of medical school were very late nights,
Mhm,
but then after that, you realize that you can't skip on a good night's sleep because that's just going to catch up to you. So I quickly realized that. And I would make sure to be in bed by like 10, 11 o'clock.
mhm. Nice. So, what would you say some of your favorite things are about med school?
Med school is definitely a challenge, but I do love that your hard work pays off. You get to see whatever you're taught in so many different lenses. So you're seeing it in like a clinical perspective. Once you start rotations, you're seeing it in practicality. So it really enhances the knowledge that you're learning from a book and what your professors are teaching you. So I love that like it's hard to memorize all these things, yes, but the more you see it, the more you're comfortable with it, the more you recognize it. And then it all comes together so beautifully that I love it.
Nice. So I know you talked about some of your favorite things. What would you say are some of your least favorite things, or at least like more unlikable things about med school?
Sure. So the schedule can definitely be tough, especially the first 2 years. I mean, you're studying so much. So that can definitely be taxing. You end up sacrificing time with friends and family. Um, and then, I mean, I would say like once third and fourth year comes around, it kind of feels like you have a 9 to 5 job, kind of. Take that loosely, but it's it's definitely the schedule. I think a lot of it's out of your hands. You never know what your day looks like, which can also be nice, which is something I like about it. You never kind of you go into your day kind of being surprised, but definitely time away from friends and family can be tough, especially when you're stressed or you need the support, so that can definitely be tough.
Yeah, so about support, what kind of like support systems are available in med school? Like, is there any tutoring or like counselors to see?
Yeah, they have both of those. We had tutors at our school for every block and different specialties, and then we also had lots of mental health resources. We had he was like a mental health. I think he did like a PhD in mental health or behavioral health. So he was always there to talk to us. He'd always give us pep talks before big exams and big events. And then they also had access to a therapist. I know some of the students were able to use them at like a maybe at like a discounted rate or something with like insurance, but definitely plenty of resources. I mean, everyone was super friendly. Professors know what you're going through, so they have office hours, they're willing to talk to you, and friends were always there for each other. So, definitely a great support system.
Yeah. And so I did a little research and I found out like there is much less like DO schools than MD schools. So would you say there's like it's harder to get into a DO school than MD, or is there not much of a difference?
I don't think it's harder. I would say it's pretty equivalent.
Mhm.
I think the numbers are rising. There's definitely have been a growth in DO schools in the past couple years, and I know that from what I've heard, they're getting a little more competitive. Um,
Mhm.
but I would say they're pretty equivalent.
Mhm. Nice. So my last question is, do you have any advice for high schoolers in particular, whether it's related to med school or like specifically like DO?
Sure. I honestly I guess my biggest advice would be to try to do as much as you can in high school that is not medicine related. I know that might seem contradictory, but you end up doing medicine for your whole life.
Mhm.
It's something that you are committed to. It's something that once you're in for. So I love that I like had that non-traditional pre-med path because I was able to experience all like the economics and the cognitive science, and that entailed like anthropology and philosophy. And I feel like that helps me get a different lens of medicine. It really helps me understand like diverse backgrounds. And I made sure to like continue my hobbies. I know it's become so competitive to even to get into college or medical school, but it's important to really do the things you love and don't let go of your hobbies. Medicine will always be there. You are, everyone will always achieve their goals of getting into medical school and one day becoming a physician. So I would say definitely hang on to the things that you love and don't let go of those, and try as many things as you can before you settle on medicine.
Well, thank you so much for joining the podcast today. Your time is really appreciated.
Of course. Thank you for having me.